to Momentum in Real Estate, your guide to success in the dynamic world of real estate. I'm Corey Wolf.
And I'm Kristen James. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, we're here to help you reach new heights.
Success in real estate comes from learning, growing, and serving others.
Join us as we dive into strategies for lead generation, marketing, market trends, and client relationships.
Get ready to ignite your momentum and achieve your goals in real estate.
Let's dive in and unlock your full potential.
This is Momentum in Real Estate.
Meet Ronita Kalra, a first-generation Indian American who grew up immersed in the entrepreneurial hustle of her father's showroom on Fashion Avenue in New York City. After stints at Merrill Lynch and Apple, Ronnie found her true calling in real estate, rising from an assistant at Douglas Elliman to leading her own powerhouse team at Compass. Featured on Bravo's $1 Million Listing and verified on Instagram with over 80,000 followers, Ronnie is now sharing her journey and insights on her YouTube series, Real Talk with Ronnie. Welcome to the podcast, Ronnie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited. We're so excited to have you. So tell us about your real estate story in your own words.
I have a very unique story. I mean, everyone's story is unique to themselves, but I think for me, like all the stars aligned and it was right time, right place. So I graduated in 2009 and it was the financial crisis of the world. And I was at the time interning at Merrill Lynch. And I thought to myself, I really wanted to be in finance. And then Lehman Brothers crashed and the building that I was working in, someone had jumped and committed suicide. And I was just like, I don't think I could do this finance thing. So I started working in sales and I was selling a subscription service. It was financial market research. And I did that for a while. And then I moved to Apple and I was doing business sales for Apple. So I really got the startup feel and I really got working for a Fortune 500 feel. And it was a great experience because I learned from the startup how to cold call, how to really from the ground up get a sale done and follow through, and then how to retain clients. And then, when I worked at Apple, a Fortune 500 company, the product sells itself. So it was really more about maintaining relationships and understanding how they use the product and putting them together with app developers and becoming like a business consultant and solving problems that way. So when I was looking to switch from Apple, my mom had actually suggested real estate because I wanted to stay in sales. I feel like sales is in my blood. My father's in sales. And I kept interviewing at these jobs and it was the same role over and over, account manager, business development, doing the same thing. And she said, look, if you're going to sell anything, why not sell the most expensive thing that somebody buys?
Brilliant.
Like, okay, lady, you got something there. So I got my real estate license. At the time, I had lived in Midtown on 49th Street and 2nd Avenue. I chose the office closest to my apartment because I decided I wanted to be walking distance. Somebody made an introduction there and I got hired. And when I got hired, the manager had said, so what's your plan? And I was like, I don't know. I want to make money. And he's like, well, do you want to do this on your own? Do you want to join a team? So I said, you know what? I think I would really benefit from joining a team. I'm a very hands-on learner. Show me something once, I can figure it out. So he introduced me to a bunch of different teams at Douglas Elliman. And one of the people he introduced me to was Luis. And at the time I knew who he was. Of course, I'm a Bravo-holic. I watched $1 Million Listing. And I said, I don't know if he'd be interested in somebody brand new, somebody completely green, but we met and we clicked. We happened to be the same age. And I saw that he needed me. He needed the organization, somebody who knew how to come up with a business plan and work a pipeline. And I had Google Drive and Excel sheets, and he knew how to sell, and he knew how to sell real estate. So I needed him. So it was like the perfect relationship because I taught him about the behind the scenes getting organized on how to run the business. And he taught me everything I know in real estate. So I was his assistant for 4 years. And I like to say I was really his shadow. I mean, I went everywhere the man went. I asked if I could be on every phone call that he had. And so it was such a great experience because I was immersed into the luxury real estate world. And I really saw that honestly, no matter the price point of the deal, you're doing the same amount of work. So you could be
Yep.
selling something for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million, or you could be selling something for 500K. Same amount of work, same amount of headache. You treat the client the same. It doesn't matter. Customer service
Mm-hmm.
is super important at any price point. So I saw like, okay, you might as well immerse yourself into selling a higher price point, because if you're going to spend 80 hours a week doing the job, why not do it and make a better return?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very, very unique experience because I was able to work with somebody like him. And then I was thrown into this world of reality TV, and I got to see that that itself is a full-time job. And, you know, the show is not scripted, and the deals are real, and the clients are real, and the money that they make is real. So if it didn't work out on the show, you couldn't fake it, you know? So it was a great, great, great experience because I was able to really help him grow his business because he was also so busy filming that I ended up doing a lot of what I do now as a broker as his assistant. And he didn't mind the help because he needed it. And so my story, I feel very lucky. I was put in the right place at the right time. Like I say, all the stars, you know, aligned for me then.
That's amazing. I want to go back. We glossed over kind of your upbringing, your father being in sales, and
Yeah.
your exposure in that environment. How did that really sort of influence and direct your path into real estate?
So my parents came here in 84 from India. They got married and they came to New York with literally nothing in their pocket. My father was selling jewelry in India. So when he came to New York, he started selling costume jewelry. And I was brought up going to the showroom every single day because my parents worked together. They started their own business and they were working together, and they didn't have childcare. So they would pick me up from school or daycare or wherever I was, and I would come to the city and sit in the showroom and like play with the jewelry or just listen to them, you know? And so I saw that everything is a sale, right? Regardless of the business you're in, you're selling yourself, you're selling your brand, or you're selling your product. So I kind of grew up watching my parents grow this business. Eventually, in the Y2K era, my mom went back to school and she went into the software side of things. So she left my father's business and she decided, you know, for a family, it would be better for not both of them to be invested in one business, because if the business is doing well, great. But if the business isn't doing well, there's no safety net. So she went back to school, but, you know, I continued to help my father as technology progressed. And I was in high school at the time. I remember him saying to me, you know, I have all these invoices that I have to do. And I'm like, why are you doing them by paper? Like, all of this should be done on the computer. And he was like, show me. So I was always helping him with things like that and trying to make his business more efficient. And he was always leaning on me to be like, well, isn't there an easier way of doing this? And I'm like, of course there is, Dad, you know? So I was always helping him. I think he thought that I would take over the business one day. And I thought about it for a while, but ultimately I knew I wanted to run my own business. I knew I wanted to do sales. I just didn't want to continue down that path because I saw the ups and downs of that business. And I thought, if I'm going to sell something, like my mom said, might as well sell something most expensive.
I love that. Thanks, Mom. That's a really great quote. Can you tell us a little bit about your transition and why you transitioned from assistant of Luis running your own successful career real estate path here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I blame Luis. He like forced my hand. Literally, he didn't want to do it anymore. I had already been with him for 4 years. So I said, he wanted to move to Paris at the time. And I said, you know, you can't give up on this. What if you decide you don't want to live in Paris anymore? You want to come back to New York? Why don't you keep your license? Let's partner. So it'll be the Luis and Ronita team, because your phone isn't going to stop ringing. People still watch the show. They're still going to call you and want to give you their real estate to sell. Just give it to me. So he said, okay, that's an offer. I can't really, you know, I'm still going to be able to go to Paris and do my thing. And anybody who calls me, I'll say my business partner in New York is handling our business. So we became partners. That lasted for 2 years. And then he did sign with Netflix and he started to do another show. And he said, listen, I don't want to lie to my clients, right? I don't want to tell them that I'm still doing real estate when they're going to see that I'm doing a Netflix show about something else. So at that point, when we broke ties, I started my own team. And like I said, he forced my hand. I didn't really have a choice.
So tell us about some of those maybe early challenges when you got started with your own team, just challenges in general, but maybe also like being a female in the industry that in and of itself can sometimes be challenging.
Sure. I think, in a lot of ways, when I partnered with him, I kind of stepped into this position because I had to, but I didn't really know how to run a team. And it was me and Luis for so long. And we always had people on the team, but they did their own thing. I mean, they knew that he wasn't really around to be that kind of team leader mentor that some people want and need. He was very hands off and he was like, this is what I expect of you. And if you provide X, I will provide X, right? It was a two-way street. So when I was thrown into the situation, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to run a team and I failed miserably. People were on the team and they were like, you're not guiding me. You're not teaching me. And I said, well, nobody guided or taught me. I just followed Luis down everywhere and I learned myself. So I didn't realize that that's what you were looking for. So there was a lot of lessons learned in the beginning. And I realized, real estate, you get your license so easily. All you have to do is 75 hours, you pass 2 tests and you get your license. But they don't teach you about selling real estate in New York. You learn about the laws to pass the test, but nobody is teaching you how to run a business. And that just comes from either experience or maybe you went to business school. So I learned very quickly that I had to be organized. I had to hold myself accountable. I had to put goals in place for myself and try and hit those targets, because if I didn't, the only person I was disappointing was myself. And so I realized I needed to keep the team really small because I needed to be able to manage it myself and not feel overwhelmed that I wasn't doing them a service. And then I also didn't like the feeling of I was being asked to do things or I was needed by so many other people when that's not really what I signed up for. I didn't become a real estate agent to teach everybody else how to become a real estate agent, And I realized, and it was something that Luis taught me, when I was talking to him about working for him, he was like, what are you going to do for me? I don't need you to be a liability to me. I don't want to sit here and teach you everything. Don't tell me what you want from me. Tell me what you're going to provide me. How are you going to help me? And if you learn along the way, good for you. But again, like he didn't sign up to teach people how to be real estate brokers. So I took that with me. And when I started my own team and I was looking for people to work with me, I said to them, I am absolutely willing to provide support, but it has to be a two-way street. I'm here to help you and you're here to help me. I want to be able to provide you with listings and I want to be able to provide you with business if you're bringing business to the table. It's got to go both ways. I didn't get any free handouts with Luis and I'm not here to give any free handouts, right? That was my experience. Being a woman in the business, I think, especially now that I'm a mom, I can see that if I'm competing with these men who are machines and I respect them and they do so much volume in business and they travel the world and they're not expected to kind of be home, or maybe they don't want to, there's a big difference. And it's really not about real estate. I think it's just the difference between men and women, because I don't know, somebody, who was it? She's like the CEO of Pepsi. She said, you really can't have it all. Something will always be sacrificed and you have to choose. Do you want to be there for your kids and be involved in the PTA? Or do you want to be number one at your company? Because you can't have both. Somebody's going to suffer. Either work suffers or your kids suffer. And it's very true. My parents, when they came and were working together, and eventually when I was old enough that I wasn't going to the showroom every day, I'd be in after school till 6:00 and they would come and pick me up after they came from the city. And if I played a sport, they weren't making my games. And it was a sacrifice, right? But they knew that they came to this country to make money, to give me a better life. And so something had to give. You couldn't come to the game and be at work. And so I think, as a woman, we choose. And I think I love doing what I do because I can make the choice every day. I can choose, what, today I have a very full day and I'm not going to see my kids for more than 3 hours in the day. I'm going to see them in the morning and then I'm going to see them for dinner. But then tomorrow I have no appointments and I choose to work from home so that I can go pick her up from school, you know? So there's definitely a difference being a woman in this industry, but also in any industry, I feel. And it's a choice we make because we could go toe to toe with these men and work 80 hours and not see our kids if that's what we want to do. But I choose to have some sort of balance.
Yeah, that's well said. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit more advice of women in the real estate career. Like, what advice would you give a woman right now?
I think it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman in this business. If you want to be number one, you really can. Like, it doesn't put you at a disadvantage if you're a woman. And again, it's your choice with where you want to spend your time because we eat what we kill. So if you want to make $1 million, you can make $1 million. Maybe you're not going to be having so many vacations that year. Maybe you're working every single weekend and you're not going to brunch with your friends, but it's a choice that you make. So this is a business where it's not instant gratification. It takes time to build your business. It takes experience. Every deal you do is another kind of notch on your belt. It's another lesson that you learn about the business. And the more deals you do, the better at it you get because the more experience then you have. But it is a sacrifice. I mean, I still to this day, I only have 3 other women on my team because I find it very hard to hire people that are brand new and have them stick with it because unfortunately it's too easy to quit when you're not making a salary and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel because it might be a year away for you to make what you want to make. It's very easy for people to give up. And it's not, one thing about the TV shows that people dislike is it makes it look so easy and glamorous, and it makes us look like we make so much money so quick and so easy, but that's not true. It takes a lot of work, especially in the beginning, to build your business and then to get enough people to refer you more business, and then it's a domino effect. But the beginning is the hardest, and you definitely have to have a cushion. You have to have a safety net in the beginning because there's no salary. So if you don't close a deal, you don't make any money and nobody's going to be giving you any handouts.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. Any of us in the industry know the work it takes to put a deal together, to get the deal to the closing table. And that is the same in every market.
So yeah, no matter where you sell, right? Like if you're not closing deals, you're not making money.
Right. So Ronnie, tell us just from your experience in the industry, how have you seen the real estate market change from the early days?
So much has changed. So much has changed. When I first started, I remember Luis telling me about when he started, there was listings on Craigslist, and obviously nobody uses Craigslist anymore. Now there is just so much information available online that transparency is so key because buyers are savvy. They can go look at how long something's been on the market. They can go see what the buyer paid for it. They can go look at the comps themselves, right? So our job really is to be advisors, more so now than ever, because a buyer, now that, the rules about commission have changed and about who's paying, who's broker, what percentage has changed, it's very important for us to show our value. No longer are we listing apartments and getting phone calls for people to come and buy them. We have to sell our listings. We have to add value. We have to push our product onto people and show them why this is a good time to buy and why they should be buying this apartment versus some of the others on the market. And then on the buy side, we have to prove to our buyers that they need us, that we have the experience and the knowledge about what's traded and what's happened and how maybe we can save them money or why this is the right move for them versus another unit. So now I think more than ever, brokers are going to be held to a higher standard, which I think is a great thing because there are so many brokers in the business. There are so many people who have their license, but there are not that many people that stay or actually do business and make money. And the ones that stay and do business are the ones that really add value. And I think it'll make us as real estate advisors more professional. It'll hold us to a higher standard, which I think we deserve, right? We deserve the 3% commission that we receive. And we're going to be showing our clients why we deserve it because we're the industry professionals. I use this analogy all the time. People are like, well, I could do it myself. And won't I save money if I don't use a broker? It's true. You could do it yourself. But if you have your own full-time job, and if you are, for example, a doctor and you're a foot doctor, you're a podiatrist, and I have a problem with my teeth, I'm not going to go to the foot doctor for my tooth problem. I'm going to go to the dentist because they studied dentistry. So yes, you could do it yourself, but you don't know everything about the industry like I do because I've done hundreds of deals at this point. So when you go to a doctor who has seen 100 cases just like yours, they will tell you what you can expect. So yes, things can be done yourself. You could probably fix or pull your tooth out yourself, but you shouldn't. You should go to the professional, right? And I think this is now the time where we will kind of differentiate who are the value add brokers versus who are the brokers who are just opening doors. And people will see that. The consumer will see that, and they will see our value.
So well said. Ronnie, you have just been such an inspiration. I'm like, I could listen to her for 2 more hours, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I just really appreciate it. And yeah, it can be really frustrating to someone who does this full time for a career to hear people get listings that are part-time. And I'm like, how are you serving your client?
Right.
Like, I understand people try to dabble in it to get out of their current career and they have to, but I agree with what you said earlier. Grab yourself a nest egg, like have a couple months and then just quit your job and freaking start it or don't and refer all your business out.
It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job to really understand what's going on. This is a full-time job. I'm looking at apartments every single day.
Right.
So if you're asking me a question, I should know the answer without looking at the computer because I'm looking at the inventory.
Right. And you have your own like personal little bubble that you're involved in. And so you really, really understand it. Yeah. Right. I love that. Well, explain to us a little bit about the New York market currently. Like what's going on?
So in Manhattan right now, we are in a buyer's market. It is a great time to buy real estate if you live in New York City. The same cannot be said about Brooklyn, for example. So New York is really, really neighborhood specific, island specific, borough specific. Brooklyn is hot, has always been hot. There's bidding wars there. Manhattan buyer's market, people are getting great deals. Unfortunately, sellers are not making huge profits on what they're selling. But it's a matter of supply and demand. Obviously, the interest rates had a great effect on the supply in Manhattan. Sellers were holding onto their properties and not wanting to sell because they didn't want to give up those great interest rates that they had. But now people have digested. We're never really going to see 2 and 3% ever again, I don't think. So, 5, 6 is going to be the new norm. And historically speaking, it's not even that bad. When my parents moved to this country, they told me it was 18%. So owning a piece of property was so far out of reach, it wasn't even an option, right? So that makes 5 and 6% look like a walk in the park. I think people have come to grips with it. Sellers are selling. It's a good time. Look, if you're going to upgrade in the city, it's a great time to sell because you're going to go and buy something and you're going to get a great deal. And you may not sell for top dollar, but you're also not buying for top dollar, right? So it's a really, really great time to be buying in Manhattan. Rents are still really high. So again, if you have that down payment, you should be putting it towards purchasing a property if you plan on staying here long term.
Yeah, that's incredible and so interesting. Corey and I are in the Western North Carolina market in the Asheville area, and we're definitely still in a seller's market. We've just struggled with inventory for years, and there's still that pent up buyer demand. So sellers are still getting top dollar for their properties, and there's still competing offers. So it's really interesting. And Corey and I both got into the industry when it was like the height of a seller's market. So we haven't even experienced a buyer's market in our time in the career. So it's always so interesting to hear what's happening in other markets around the country.
I know. Even just outside of Manhattan, it's a seller's market. You want to move to the burbs right outside New York? You're competing with hundreds of other people. So
Yep.
it's so crazy how the market changes just a few miles down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Ronnie, tell us kind of what strategies do you employ to stay ahead of the competition? I imagine, like everywhere, you're surrounded by real estate agents. You know, we say you throw a rock, you'll hit an agent.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do you do to stay ahead of the competition and really provide exceptional service to your clients?
I like to evolve with the times. So, you guys are doing a podcast, you are evolving with the times, right? You are providing a different kind of value to people interested in real estate. Now, people who listen to our podcast, for example, may never use us as their real estate broker, but it's branding, right? It's putting our name out there. It's giving our brand the exposure that we want. And at the end of the day, we sell ourselves, we sell our brand, and that's how we get our clientele and that's how we get our referrals. So, the drone videos are the new thing here in the city. And I think that they're just so cool because we have these exceptional views. And to be able to take these drone videos of these listings, give somebody, a different kind of marketing tactic than just a regular walk through the apartment tour that everybody has been doing. Social media has changed the game for real estate. I can market your property to my 65,000 Instagram followers and my 20,000 people on TikTok, whatever it is. I mean, you can now show your property for free via social media to so many different people that it's really changed how we look at real estate. And even if you're not in the market, everyone is interested in real estate. Everyone is interested in seeing a cool property or a cool space. So whether or not you're ever going to buy it, you still want to look at it. I look at properties all over the world just because it's so cool to see real estate everywhere. And so social media, staying on top of that, making value add videos about topics that are things that are in the news, or just keeping people informed and letting them know that I am their resource, whether or not they're ever going to use me as a broker, but I'm your resource if you have any questions, or if you're thinking about it, or you're curious about it. I should be the person that you think of when you want to have a conversation about real estate.
So well said once again. So well said. Okay, so while we're closing up here, I just want to hear about like your future goals and aspirations, and maybe give us a little bit of where you're at now in those goals.
So this year I did the biggest deal of my career, which I'm so grateful for. I sold a $20 million townhouse. I was the third broker on the deal. It's the biggest deal I've ever done. And I think that,
what do you mean by third broker in the deal? What does that mean?
So she had it listed with two other brokers, and they weren't able to sell the house. And I was the third broker that she hired. And of course, she started at a much different price point. It was a much different time. She did receive some offers then. But, I always say right time, right place. It wasn't the right time for her to sell. She wasn't getting the number she wanted. I was able to get the house and sell it for her at a very fair number, given the market conditions today, and right time, right place. So my goal is to try and beat that goal, and try and sell something for more money, try and get more of those deals. So I'd like to at least do one or two of those a year. And I would say I'm on my way. All it takes is one, right? Because now I have that experience. And it's funny because sometimes you go on a listing presentation and they'll say to you, well, have you sold anything at this price point? And if the answer is no, they think you're not qualified. But reality is it's the same thing no matter the price point. It's the same process. It's the same customer service. It's the same negotiation. It's just a different number. And now that I have that experience, I can say that I have that experience and hopefully get bigger listings under my belt.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's remarkable. And yeah, I love just the humility in that of, like you said, right time, right place. And if we're sort of poised and positioned to take what comes our way and use the experience you've had and translate that into the next opportunity with a buyer or a seller. So right. Well done. And that's amazing. Ronnie, this has been so valuable. I feel like you've offered so much wisdom and tips and strategies for how you've achieved success that I think are going to be of real value to our listeners. So we're super grateful for your time and just have loved getting to know you and hear about your career thus far and your market. So we're super grateful. Thanks for your time.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for thinking of me. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome.